Yo, what's happening? Today, I want to show you how you can make some simple meads at home with things you most likely will just have laying around the house. So, I have in front of me here some things that I'm going to be using, make a couple different batches of mead, and show you how it's done. Let's get right into it. So here first off, we're going to start out with the most basic. I've got here a gallon of water and 2 pounds of honey. And that's the basic kind of recipe that I always stick with, is 2 pounds of honey per gallon of water. And that goes all the way up to when I'm making 6 gallons. I do 12 pounds of honey for 6 gallons of water. It's a pretty simple way to remember it, and that'll give you sort of a drier kind of mead. You can always add in a little more later or a little more in the beginning, depending on how you like it. But you just have to experiment on your own with those kind of things. But we're going to start out with that. 1 gallon of water, 2 pounds of honey. That's 100% pure, raw, and unfiltered honey. I'm not going to do any heating with any of this stuff today, especially that honey, because heating it can kill off those enzymes and good things in it that you want to keep. So basically, we're just going to be dumping honey into water. So I've dumped out about half of that water, so that way I got room to put the honey in and get it nice and mixed up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Just going to dump it right in there. I forgot to mention this and this. So this is 2 pounds and this is 5 pounds. They cost the same because this is the raw and unfiltered honey. It was like 14 bucks for that and then 14 bucks for that, which is crazy. So now I'm going to put a little bit of water into this so that way I can shake it up and get the last bit of honey out of there. You don't really need too much, just enough to kind of shake in there. Now that should be just about the rest of the honey. So now you can see I've got a little bit of room in here still. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to shake this up and get the honey mixed into this. Oh, I'm spilling honey water on me. Oh, frig. It's like it doesn't want to seal very nice. Might be kind of warped. I just have to be a little more careful, I guess. Oh man, I'm gonna be sticky after this. It's going everywhere. Oh, fudge. Oh, fudge. Alright, so that looks to be pretty nicely mixed up there. That's looking pretty good. Now I can just top it off the rest of the way with some more water. Actually, I want to leave a little bit of an air gap to let some pressure be able to escape. I don't want to go too far. Probably right about there. Maybe just a small bit more. Yeah, that looks about good. Otherwise, you can build up pressure in there and blow off at top whatever you're going to end up using. Give one more little shake up here, spill some more of it all over the place. That's how we like to do here. There you go. And for an airlock, I kind of just want to find out if one of my airlocks for my carboys will actually fit. If it will, then I can use that. But actually, it just about works. But for you at home, what you can do, you can mess with one of these. If you poke a hole in a balloon, it lets out enough pressure to let the CO2 out, but not let any of that oxygen back in. And I've actually done this in another video before when one of my airlocks broke. You got right here, that's going to be your airlock. You just gotta somehow take like a pin or something, get a little hole in it, just a pin size hole. It's kind of tough to do. Oh, I think I got it. Yep, I got the hole in there, I think. Yeah, you can't even see it. It's just a tiny little pinhole. Enough to let that pressure out. And as far as the yeast, I'm just going to go ahead and pour the yeast in. That's all you really got to do. You can go ahead and warm up some water and get it started, activated in water, but it's going to start doing its thing in here. It might just take a little bit longer if you don't warm it up. But yeah, you could just pour it in there. It'll still do about the same thing. I'm just going to pour half of this pack in there because it's not that much mead that we're making here. Plus the stuff will reproduce on its own once it's in here and activated. It'll start going. Well, that looks to be about half. Call that good. I'm actually going to put the lid back on. Give it one more little bit of a shake up to get that yeast all going in there. Alright. The yeast is in. Take your balloon with a pinhole in it. Throw that over top. There's your airlock. Once it starts fermenting, it'll build up pressure. This balloon will inflate a little bit, and yeah, you'll just see it. It'll be able to stand up on its own. But that's how you know it's actually fermenting. It's building up pressure in there. So there you have it. There's the first simple mead that I wanted to show you how to make. Real easy. Most people have these things laying around their house. You know, you have a jug of water and some honey. Mix it together. Put a balloon on top with a hole in it, and you could even use like some baker's yeast. Any kind of yeast will really do. I use the Lavlin D47. That's good for making mead. Yeah, any old yeast should really do the trick. If you just wanted to go ahead and make yourself some mead at home in a simple way. And then from there you can always experiment, do some other things, maybe add some fruit in there. Like I do, you can put raisins, tea bags, whatever you want. Maybe throw an orange in there. It's up to you. You just gotta figure out what works for you. Now the next one is something a little less common. This is something most people might not have laying around their house. There's a good chance you will. Back when the whole home brewing craze kind of started with this Mr. Beer kit, you could buy a whole kit to get you started on some basic beers. Basic beers you could just make at home, 2 gallons in these little kits. And so I think that there's a good chance that people will have this laying around. They might not even know about it, but you can make mead in this too. It's not just for beer. I started out making mead with these. I used to make beer in them too. Just the basic Mr. Beer kits. They're really easy to make, so you should actually check that out if that'd be something that would interest you. I'll link the site down below. Because that's also where I got my big fermenter that I use for my mead making videos. On to the next way to make some mead at home. So for this one, I'm going with a little bit more honey. This is 5 pounds. Like I was saying, my rule of 2 pounds per gallon. I'm just adding the whole 5 pounds for this one just because I don't feel like actually pouring out a pound of it. It's not going to make it too much different. This one will come out a little bit sweeter, but still the basic same idea. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and pour this honey into the fermenter. just gonna go ahead and dump it right on in. Now I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the smaller one. I'm gonna pour water into this and shake it up to get that last little bit of honey out of there. Don't need to go crazy with it, just a little bit, enough to shake up in there. Pop the lid back on and shake it up to get that last bit of honey. At least this one doesn't leak. And that's good enough. That'll do it. Nice and shook up. Got most of that last bit of honey. Now I'm just going to pour this in. Now what you're going to do here is just go ahead and top it off up to the 2 gallon mark. Actually, I'll turn it around so we can see that. You've got quarts and liters. So you got 8.5 quarts and 8.5 liters. It's two gallons in this here unit. Here's one, and here is another one. Might be a little bit less than 2 gallons of water just because that honey's taking up a little bit of space in there. Yeah, so right about there, I think. Maybe a little tiny bit more. Right there. That's where you want it. That should be 2 gallons right there. Nice 2 gallons of mead. And these fermenters are nice because you don't need an airlock or anything. It's kind of got it built in. It's got a way to release pressure, but keep the to release the CO2, release the pressure, but keep the oxygen from going back in. But now that that's all in there, just gonna go ahead and shake it up. Kind of being a little careful with it because that liquid can actually, some of it got out. It gets out there at the top where that mechanism to keep the pressure from building is. You can kind of get some spillage from there. So you kind of want to be a little bit careful with it. But I think in the end you're going to end up spilling some anyway. Just want to get it nicely mixed in there. I may have to actually flip it. So I'm going to take my towel here, put it over this, turn it upside down, and shake her. Probably a better way to do this. Maybe a spoon would work. I'm actually going to do that. So yeah, you can even take a spoon and just kind of mix it up like that too. That's actually way better. Don't try and shake this. much easier. Yeah, you just kind of want to get that honey thoroughly mixed in with the water. That's pretty good, nicely mixed up there. Now I'm going to add the yeast. I'm just going to add the rest of this, that other half of yeast I used for the first gallon. Just dump that in there. You could probably use a whole packet for this because it's a little more, but half should do. Like I said, they're going to reproduce in here once they get activated, so not a major concern. Might just take you a little bit longer to get your final product. Now at this point, with the yeast in there, I'll put the lid on and just give it a little bit of a shake to get the yeast mixed in. There we go. Now for the 2 gallon Mr. Beer fermenter, you're gonna kind of just to make sure that it's fermenting, you're just gonna watch for that like foam to kind of build up on top. Once it gets going, you'll get that little bit of foam build up top there. And that's how you can tell that it is fermenting. All right, so up next, even less common. Most people aren't gonna have this laying around unless they are a brewer themselves or somebody in your family is a brewer. But if you watch my Making Mead at Home videos, you'll know that I use these carboys for my secondary ferment. After it's out of the big fermenter, I put it into these. But you could also just start a ferment in these carboys. And you've got the airlock to keep out your oxygen and let the pressure out. But another way, and that's 3 gallons. That's a step up from the Mr. Beer. But you could follow the same kind of principle. You could use 6 pounds of honey for 3 gallons of water. Or more or less, depending on how you like the taste of your mead. I'm not going to actually make mead in this right now, but just wanted to show you that that's another option you'd have for making mead at home. Really simple way to do it. And lastly, we have the 6-gallon fermenter that, like, again, if you watch my Making Mead at Home, I'll link those videos down below. But you'll know that I use this big 6-gallon fermenter. And with that, I do 12 pounds of honey, 6 gallons of water. And that's when you get real serious into making mead. Once you kind of got like a good method down, you step it up to this big batch, so that way you're making a lot bulk all at once. But that is also from Mr. Beer, which will be linked down below. You can check out any of the stuff I've shown you. I'll leave links to everything, so if you want to get going with something like that, or you want to get the Mr. Beer fermenter, or like from the beginning, you can start out, just use a gallon jug of water, make your mead like that. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully I was able to teach some people some things, how to get going on their own meads. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel. Check out some of my other content. If you're interested, hit that notification bell. Stay up to date on any future videos. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.